10 years ago when Bryce Harper was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Tom did the profile on him. He's covering the Yankees and the Indians, the senior baseball writer from Sports Illustrated, also contributor to the MLB Network, joins us on the program. Tom, good morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm curious if you had any trepidation profiling a 16-year-old, putting him on the cover, and those words, LeBron James, coming into the story. We're used to players being a little bit older and they could handle that kind of publicity, but at age 16, any trepidation?
Absolutely, Dan. First of all, when I went to do the assignment, I did not know it was going to be a cover. So just to do a feature story in a magazine like SI, a kid who's 16 years old, and really the world hadn't heard of him. It's not like an Olympic gymnast who we see out there at 13, 14. So to introduce a guy to the national landscape at 16, I had a lot of trepidation. First of all, on two levels, Dan. First of all, there was no guarantee that this guy would actually be that good, right?
Yeah.
A lot of youth sports is all about the pituitary gland, how quickly you develop physically and mature at a young age. You get an advantage when you do that early. And the other thing was just emotionally, intellectually, how advanced, how mature was he in that regard to handle that. And I have to tell you, Dan, that after watching him play, but mostly after going to dinner with him and his parents, I lost all of that trepidation. I mean, he is an old soul kind of person anyway, but the maturity was off the charts at 16 years old. This was a kid who knew exactly what he wanted and how to go about it. And then, again, understand, Dan, that he basically taken every at-bat in his life, his young life at that, under scrutiny and a lot of derision, to be honest with you, because in the amateur sports world in baseball, everybody had heard of Bryce Harper. So there was always a spotlight on him. That was something that he was used to.
Has he lived up to the billing?
Oh, I think he has. When you look at what he's done best, Dan, and that is hit home runs and get on base with walks, what he's done through this age, 26, it is a Hall of Fame type track. Very few players, first of all, get to the big leagues at 19. He had one of the best teenage seasons at 19. So, yes, this is what he is. And it's easy in today's world to say what he is not. He is not a high average hitter. He's certainly not a contact hitter. He hasn't been a great outfielder, but remember, he was a catcher growing up, right? Everybody decided he was just so good offensively, you couldn't put him behind the plate. You wanted to keep him fresh. So, to me, my comp, Dan, is Reggie Jackson, right? Would you say Reggie Jackson was one of the 5 or 10 best players of all time? No. Would you say that Reggie Jackson was one of the 5 or 10 players you would pay a ticket to watch play? The answer to that is yes. He makes teams play, makes teams better, and he makes the game a heck of a lot more interesting because of the way he plays.
If I said you could have Christian Yelich, Cody Bellinger, or Bryce Harper?
Oh, man, you're putting me on the spot. I would go Yelich. Listen, again, with Bryce, I think what he also does is he takes a lot of attention away from teammates, which is actually a good thing, right? The pressure is always on him, spotlight's on him. But Yelich and Bellinger have just been off the charts now for an extended period of time. Christian, a little bit longer than Cody. Cody struggled a little bit last year towards the end of the season. Not a lot of separation between the two, but they do the two things I think right now are the most valuable things to me offensively. They hit with power and they make contact. There's no sacrifice with batting average or strikeouts with those two guys. It was with Cody before, but he's made some nice adjustments.
The two pitchers who signed this week, Kimbrel with the Cubs and now Dallas Keuchel with the Braves, more of an impact this year. Which pitcher?
Kimbrel, for me, assuming the Cubs are a playoff team, because he can impact a series in October. I know it wasn't a great series or impact last year in the postseason. He was tipping his pitches. But in terms of need, absolutely. The Cubs, I thought, weren't going anywhere without some more depth in their bullpen. They've got that, a guy who keeps the ball out of play. Keuchel, to me, is going to be fascinating, Dan. I do think it's a great sign by the Braves because it's a younger staff that walks a lot of people, and he's going to take the ball deep into games. But as you know, he pitches to contact, right? I mean, you need a great left side of the infield, which I think they have in Atlanta. The ball's going to be in play. My concern would be, how long does it take him to ramp up to be on point? Because he has to be precise with his pitches. And we've seen guys miss time, who signed late, who struggled when they first got back on the mound. So I think the impact is a little greater for Kimbrel. I think he'll hit the ground running in about 3 weeks with the Cubs.
He's Tom Verducci, the Sports Illustrated senior baseball writer, and also contributes to the MLB Network. I'm not sure how to phrase this, and I hope you know where it's coming from, but there was a point where baseball was the sport, and then all of a sudden started to slide a little bit. I don't know if it was sliding as much as other sports were then gaining momentum, whether the NBA and then certainly with the NFL. But where baseball is now, how did baseball get to be where it is now? And is there anything that could change the popularity of baseball on a national scale, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think baseball got to where it is now, Dan, based on all the competition that you referenced, not just other sports, but you think even e-games and video games. I remember the MLB did a research project a few years ago, what young kids, what are they doing more of and less of? And in terms of sports, across the board, all the sports were down. The one thing that was up was doing nothing, no sports. So that's not a good sign for our country. But I think because there are so many options now, people have gone in more different directions. It's more splintered. So baseball now has become super strong regionally, right? When you look at all the TV numbers, it just kills it in terms of TV ratings locally throughout the course of the summer. And All-Star Game, World Series, I know it's not what it was, but it's still winning those time slots, and it's very comparable to the top shows. And today, you can't compare it to, MASH and Seinfeld and Cosby and back in the day. Everything's splintered. So to me, the fact is that baseball is super strong regionally, but not as much nationally. And getting back to Bryce, Dan, that's to me the anomaly about Bryce and why he's so valuable. He's a national baseball star with a brand who's never been in the World Series. The list of guys that you could say that about in today's game, it's about it. He's about it because, whether it was David Ortiz or Derek Jeter or Buster Posey or Mookie Betts, you pretty much need to get to that national stage for the country to really know you and fall in love with you. But people know who Bryce is, and he's never gotten out of the first round. That's a credit to him and how he plays the game. But, yeah, baseball just needs to pick up the pace. You know that, Dan, right? The game is great. I love the game, and I think it's consumed by more people than ever before. I just like to see that as well as it's played at a super high level, it goes along a little bit quicker.
What is the big holdup, or what would be the holdup of using the screens all the way down the foul poles with baseball, after what happened at the Astros-Cubs game?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, some of it may be season ticket holders who, quote unquote, don't want an obstructed view. But, listen, some of the most expensive seats are right behind home plate, right? For years and years, and people didn't mind it. And I think technology as well has helped in terms of the netting now is not nearly, to me, so obtrusive. I mean, it's a lot thinner and stronger. If you go watch a baseball game in Japan, it is pretty much all the way down to the foul poles. Yep. And the game is super popular there. So it may be just a matter of, I don't know, just physically getting all the material out there, but intellectually, emotionally, I think the sport should be completely dedicated to getting it done as soon as possible.
Yeah, I was surprised the commissioner took a week to say something publicly, and I believe he was in Seattle when he said it, saying, hey, you know what, we don't have the resources, I believe I'm paraphrasing, to be able to do this. I understand that, but I wanted the commissioner to why not just come out and say, we can't do it this year, don't have enough time to be able to do it, but we will have it in play, next year on opening day or something like that. If you truly want to make it happen, then you will. And if I lose season ticket holders because they don't get the true fan experience, nobody ever turned down seats behind home plate. No one. But if I lose a 4-year-old in the process of something like this, you know what? I got to err to the side of caution here if I'm the commissioner. And he put these screens that went to the dugout. He had the power to be able to do that, I believe. So why not? Hey, I'm the commissioner and I want to protect my fans. You'll still be able to get foul balls. And trust me, when I would send a piece of the netting to all of my season ticket holders so they could look at it and just understand this is not going to interrupt your experience going to the ballpark.
Well, here's another thing, and I agree with you 100%, Dan. I think there's a way, and I'm not an expert in netting, but I think there is a way that you can have retractable netting so that pre-game, those nets can be up, because a big part of the baseball experience is, going down to the field to see the players up close, maybe get an autograph or two. There's nothing like – baseball is unlike other sports. Just the tangible nature of touching the game, physically touching the game, whether that's a foul ball or an autograph, is a huge part of the fan experience. That'll make you a fan for life. So there must be a way so that screens prior to the game can be up so you don't lose that feature of the game. And then once the game starts, for protection, they go down.
I think that's great. That's a great point because you go to batting practice and you have the screen there, the cage there in batting practice, so you're not worried about getting, liners down the right or left field line, and that allows you to get right on, the edge there of the field, and maybe you get a foul ball, maybe somebody throws you one, maybe you get an autograph. I think that's wonderful. When that game starts, I'm sorry, we're going to put up the netting, and you won't even know it after a while. You just won't.
Yeah, and the fact is, Dan, in today's game, there are more foul balls than ever before. I use this stat a lot because it's so crazy to think about. Last year and this year, for the first time, there are actually more foul balls than there are balls in play. Think about that. When you go to a game, and I realize not every foul ball actually goes into the stands, but you actually have a better chance of fielding the ball than the players in the field.
Wait, but why more foul balls?
Well, because pitching is that good. It's not just velocity either. The breaking ball percentage, especially sliders, have gone up. It's hard to make contact. So to square up a baseball now is really something special. So you're seeing guys just missing the ball, and that means more foul balls. And it also dovetails with all the relief pitchers that come in. You're facing all these fresh arms. But, yeah, there's more foul balls than balls in play in today's game. So this is not a trivial matter.
We've talked about speeding up the game, but who came up with that you get, 8 pitches when you come in from the bullpen?
Abner Doubleday? I don't know.
I know, but why? You were just warming up. Now I give you 2 and let's go. Like, why am I giving you 8? And then the next guy who comes in 2 batters later gets 8.
You're speaking my language here. Imagine the NFL where the backup quarterback comes in. Timeout. I need to get some throws in on the field. No, it used to be because the bullpen mounds back in the day when stadiums weren't kept up that well, they were very different than the game mound. So they allowed the pitcher to get used to the game mound. Now it's all the same. I would give a pitcher 2 or 3, and that's it. There's no reason for 8.
Thank you, Tom. Great to talk to you.
Yeah, Dan.
All right, that's Tom Verducci in Cleveland today and tomorrow covering the Yankees and Indians, the senior baseball writer at Sports Illustrated.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.